So I'm here at the Brighton Centre with a band who disappeared from our lives, but we were very fortunate that they decided to come back bigger and better than before. It's Bombay Bicycle Club. How you guys doing?
Very well, thank you. Seren, how you doing?
I'm good. 8 out of 10, I'd say. 8.5. Yeah, pretty good.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Well above average.
What's average? 4?
No, 5.
Oh, 5. Oh. This is a very good day then.
Yeah.
So obviously one of the big things is, for all intents and purposes, 5 years ago, that was it for you guys.
Yeah.
So what was sort of like the hardest decision? Was it sort of ending the band, or was it coming back, not knowing how you would be received? Especially because in 5 years, the musical landscape has changed so much and so dramatically as well.
I'm not sure either decision was harder than the other. I mean, yeah, basically towards the end of touring our last album, so we were touring that all through 2014. We were getting to the end of that year, and yeah, there was just a feeling amongst us that we needed to take a step back and experience a bit of life outside the band. We'd made 4 albums in quite quick succession. We went straight from school into doing the band. Like, the band was really all we'd ever known, and we realised we needed to kind of grow a little bit individually outside of the band setting. So, and yeah, in some ways it was quite difficult, a little bit painful, because yeah, well, I mean, we had no idea what the future would be. It could have been the end of it. Like, for all we knew, we had no plans to do anything else at the time. We started selling all our gear, which felt quite final. But then, yeah, so we had about 4 years away. I mean, me personally, yeah, it took me a little while to adjust to not having the band in my life, because I mean, you kind of lose a big part of your identity, really. Eventually we all kind of found our feet, and actually I think the time away from the band is actually really beneficial. Now that we're back together doing stuff again.
Yeah, I personally found it harder to start again. The decision to do the band again than to stop, because I feel like just before we started talking about doing it again, I'd kind of like made my peace with not doing it again, and kind of like moved on. So it's a bit like breaking up with someone and then
coming back.
You finally like, oh, I'm over them, and then you get back to like, you start talking about getting back together. But yeah, it was definitely, for me it was like sort of slowish steps to feeling comfortable to do it again.
So how easy have you found it just getting back into the routine? Has it felt really natural? The analogy of riding a bike.
Yeah.
Has it been that easy, or has it been a bit of a struggle?
Yeah, the very first session felt a little bit strange, but actually very quickly it felt completely normal again. And yeah, it's funny how you find you've got this whole back catalogue of songs like stored somewhere in your head, and songs that you haven't played in years, you
just
find that you can still mostly remember.
Have you been surprised at the reaction? Because you've come back, obviously, like pretty much the whole tour sold out, massive places as well. The album sales have done really well. The singles have gone down very well. Like, were you kind of expecting to come back with such a big bang, or were you kind of thinking that it might simmer a little bit first before suddenly, hey, it's Bombay back again, and everyone's super excited about it?
I guess some of my hesitancy was about the fact that we had, and no one can see me doing speech marks, but we had like a legacy of sorts, and we wouldn't want to come back and like do something that didn't live up to that
standard,
or that people just didn't care about. So I think initially we kept saying, like, we'll do some touring, but we don't want to release an album if we don't think it's good enough, which is like easier to say than to do, I think, because once you're like locked into the cycle of making and releasing an album, it's quite hard to extricate yourself from that. I think we made something that we're all really proud of and that we all like. I think it was, for Jack, it took a while for him to get back into the swing of writing for the band, because he'd been doing something quite different for a while with Mr. Jukes, his solo project. It wasn't until he wrote Eat, Sleep, Wake, which he maybe wrote a year ago, just that I think we started to think that we'd have like good enough songs for an album.
Right, so I always play a little game, and I always come up with a really stupid title to do with something about the band. So we have Play Your Everything Has Gone Wrong Cards Right. I mean, I may need to work on the title, but essentially this is Play Your Cards Right. And because it's a game, there's always a prize.
Okay.
And for some reason, I feel that you guys are a wine gum sort of band.
What, you think we're very old?
No. Wine gums are nice. What's wrong with...
I'm winding you up. I do actually really like wine gums. Seren, do you like wine gums?
They're my favourite sweet, yeah, especially the green ones.
Oh, okay, well.
That was a good shout then. So we are about to play Your Everything Has Gone Wrong Cards Right. I mean, I may work on the title. So see how well it goes. So, Is It Real has 1.4 million streams. Is I Can Hardly Speak higher or lower?
It's higher. Sorry, it's just funny because I spend a lot of time looking at Spotify.
All the questions. Yeah. 2.3 million.
Yeah.
You have 608,000 likes on Facebook, but is it higher or lower for Twitter?
Twitter is higher. I feel like I should get some of these wrongs just so I don't look lame.
Do you know how? So do you know roughly what your Twitter is then?
I think it's about 730,000 at the moment.
Yeah, your 3,000 is 733,000. That is. I mean, I really should have like a bonus prize now. Right. So it was around 5 years between your last two albums.
Mm-hmm.
Is that longer than it took to build the Titanic?
I think it's about the same amount of time, isn't it?
No, you took longer than the Titanic.
Okay.
It was only 3 years for the Titanic.
I'm
Right.
enjoying this.
The last one. So you've got 3
We
out
can
of
keep
4 so
going.
5. I mean, I've only got 5. I mean, I could just start making these up, but you'll probably have to correct me on the stats. I think this is going to be quite an easy one for you then. So the Always Like This video has been viewed 7.5 million times. Is that higher or lower when being compared to the streams?
Oh, much lower.
All right, how much is the streams then?
I feel like I should get this wrong. Just, I think it's 84.5 million at the moment.
I mean, I only wrote down 84. I didn't even go that precise. I mean, that's fair play. You win the wine gums.
Oh, thank you very much. No one knows Bombay Bicycle Club better than I do.
I mean, that's impressive.
It's quite sad, isn't it?
I mean, it's your band, it's your baby. So, what's next for you guys? And so, have you thought that far ahead, or is it kind of just the album is nice to get back together and then see how it goes, or is there talks of this album's gone well, this tour's gone well,
I think
let's consider another one?
I think we just, at the moment, would like to kind of go to some interesting places and play the album to people, go to places we haven't been before in different parts of the world. I mean, it feels like to me the life cycle of an album is a bit shorter than when we stopped. And so I think we're going to start trying to think about writing and recording some new music at some point this year. It's just about finding the time. And it's also about, I mean, going on tour is not necessarily particularly conducive to writing very interesting songs because your like lived experience when you're on tour is incredibly narrow. Like the shows are amazing, but day to day can be quite dull. So yeah, I think it's about just looking for some inspiration when you can over the next 12 months probably.
It's an exciting time, and like I said, I've always been a massive fan of Bombay, and I was so happy when it was announced you guys were coming back, and when Eat, Sleep, Wait came out, I was like, yes, this is it. Automatically sounded like a classic Bombay Bicycle track. Like, your sound is very unique to you, and I think you've maintained that.
Great.
And it's near enough perfect for me. So
thank you very much.
I mean that's all the praise you need. Some random guy from Southampton.
No, not at all.
But no, it's been an absolute pleasure to interview you guys. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank